Hello, 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 everybody. I am just turning on all the streams here. So let's get down to business. Welcome to the hippest trip on YouTube. So glad you can make it on this Saturday afternoon. I'm pretty excited to be here, and I'm hoping that you guys are too. I'm trying to get some stuff running here. So I'm hoping that the chats are working well and everything's going right, because it's not seeming to show up in the restream here. I might have to change my chat icon if this doesn't fix itself. So anyway, we'll know in a minute or two. I'm trying to get everything up and running, and sometimes these things take a second. So how's everybody doing? How are you guys? I see y'all trickling in. I'm glad to see that. So what we're going to talk about today is dark energy and dark matter. I'd like to give everybody a few minutes to come in so I don't have to constantly repeat myself 20 times. So I'll let people come in and chat. Let's see if I'm just gonna put on the old school chat, because if you are talking to me on another platform like Twitch or Periscope, I'm probably not gonna be able to see it. Something Restream ran an update and I didn't quite get it working. So anyway, if you're talking to me on Twitch, that's what's going down. Anyway, so I appreciate you guys coming in, and I'm going to give you guys 1 or 2 more seconds to get everything going, and then we'll talk. Because I have a special guest coming on today to talk about dark matter and dark energy. So before we really dive into this, I want to make sure that everybody knows what's going down with the yeah, I got the clock working. Thank you. Vicky noticed that. Or Flymus says, hey, the clock's working. Yep, I got it working. I basically had to return it and get a new one. I think the actual what's it called, the movement died, the actual thing that makes it go. It's nice to have it working. It's really hopping now, man. It's going good. So today we're going to talk about some more esoteric stuff as well as science. And I always feel like there's a blend between these two things. That it is hard to talk about science without also talking about things we don't understand quite much. Like, how does thought energy work, or how does spiritual energy work? But the more time goes by, people realize, even in the science community, that all this stuff is connected. So I'm going to give you guys a few more minutes to filter in. I see some new people. Hey, Tracy and Lava Girl and Char. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you coming in. And I'm just going to let everybody catch up here. So that is going to be the topic. I have a friend coming on, Luke, in a few minutes. That and also Jinx Cat said she was maybe going to come, but who knows? Jinx Cat is hard to pin down for an interview, so she might show up. Who knows? And Uniraka, hey man, I sent something to you too. If you want to jump in later, I'd appreciate it if you want to come in on that. I'm actually going to be using Skype. And Unirock, my Restream chat updated, and now the chat's not working in the I think I have to update it in the OBS, so I don't know if you had to do that or how it's done, but I'm going back to the old school chat right now. So if you were talking to me anywhere else besides YouTube, I'm probably not going to see it today, and I'm sorry about that. So, sorry guys. So here's the deal. We're going to dive into both dark matter and dark energy. They are kind of two different things, but some people think that they're very interconnected and interrelated. I'm going to explain a little bit about what the best guesses are of what these things are. And I had this idea that kind of came to me in a dream that maybe it's all just thought energy. You know, every time we create thoughts, where does that energy go when it radiates out? And maybe that's where it's stored. I don't know. But then when I said this, what's funny is my buddy Luke emailed me like 20-30 minutes ago and was like, yeah man, there's a scientist in Singapore that that's totally his theory. So I didn't even know. It was cool that you know, that theory is happening there. So I'm pretty excited about that. Why is my chat so messed up? Hold on here. Let me fix these. I've got some housekeeping to do here for a sec. And there we go. So, oh, excuse me, it was Taiwan. I just got corrected in Skype. It's Taiwan, not Singapore. My bad, my bad. Yes, yes, Taiwan. So we're going to talk about all that because, you know, it's funny because a lot of times you will think of something that you think you're kind of the guy that thought of it, and then you get online and look, and there's like thousands of people that have thought of that, and that kind of makes me feel like that it is either a universal truth that many people kind of just know this stuff, and or it is just a conclusion everybody comes up with. You know, it's like the logical procession. It seems to happen to me a lot with spiritual stuff. A lot of my experiences, like when if I have some sort of spiritual experience, I'll come back with information that is like eye-opening for me, and it'll give me a piece of how something works. And then later on, I'll be talking about it, and someone will be like, oh yeah, this person da-da-da-da says this. And by the way, in the Vedas, 2,000 years old, they said the same thing that you're experiencing. Like, all this stuff I didn't even know about, but it was my truth at that time. So it kind of reinforces the idea of shared consciousness or shared truth, that, you know, the truth on the other side is the truth on the other side, and we just all have different ways of describing it, but we're kind of describing the same thing. It's kind of like if you compare everybody that's had near-death experiences or psychedelic drug trips, like DMT trips. They're very similar what they experience. So I see a bunch of new people coming in. Thank you, Jeremy. Good to see you. Thanks to you for being a Patreon. Love you guys. Danielle and Lava. Oh, thank you for being a Patreon. So I'm going to give you guys a minute or two before we really go full speed and I start showing you stuff. So, and Unirock, I didn't see what you said, if you wanted to come in or not on this. Let me know if you do in a little bit. But I'm going to give a little lesson. We're going to hop on over to Wikipedia and we will we'll talk here. So let's get into, there's two things we're going to talk about: dark matter and dark energy, and they're a little different. So I'm going to start with dark matter, and again, I am not some sort of astrophysicist, so I'm sure most of you guys watching probably know more about this than I do. What I really want to hammer home is how I think it ties into thought energy. So let's take you over to dark matter here. So I went over to the Wikipedia page over at dark matter, and the reason I like this is because I can use all these images and not worry about it here. Okay, so this is the map that you guys have probably seen, the heat map of the universe. And what this map kind of tells you is that over the time of universe exists, that there's all these different heat distributions that aren't normal. That the heat is expanding more than it should be. So let's go to, I'm looking for a particular image, although that's very pretty. That's pretty too. Here's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we're going to talk about this thing, dark matter, and then we're going to talk about dark energy. And what's weird is we only see about 4% of what's out there that exists. And that's kind of like, if people have never heard this before, that's a little earth-shattering to some people that we only see 4%. They estimate that dark matter is 23% and dark energy is 72%. Now, when they trace it back as far as they can go to their theory of the Big Bang, the atoms seem to be more. So what's happening is that the dark matter and dark energy has come out and just kind of like condensed everything else. That dark energy is growing way faster than when we started, and it is taking over all the space. Now, let me jump back here for a sec, because I want to say, with this idea that, remember, I'm going to put this caveat out there before we really dive into this. Science changes their mind every, what, like 30, 40 years? Like if you look back, let's say 50 years. 50 years ago, the theories that were out were nothing like the theories today. And 50 years before that, the theories were nothing like the theories are today. And so science changes its mind every every 50 years. And 50 years from now, there's going to be someone watching this, wherever the hell this thing is, in some sort of cyber implant, that is going to be laughing at us trying to figure this out. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's what they used to think it was. But now we have, like, I don't know, super quantrino dark matter thought pattern. You know, like they're going to have something completely new. So there's only so much faith you can put into scientific studies. Remember, these guys that come up with this are theorists. It's like a big room of people sitting around thinking about math equations, trying to figure out what quantum mechanics are and quantum theory. And, you know, every few generations we throw out the old and bring in something new that's the new scientific truth. And people hammer home quantum physics like it's real. People are, oh yeah, man, that's the way the universe works. That's what the scientists are saying, and this and that. But I'm telling you, in a few years, they will scrap that idea and put something new out. So that being said, I trust a lot more of the original scripts, the stuff that hasn't changed its mind every 50 years. Like if you go back and look at old school scriptures, depending on whatever scriptures you're looking at around the world, or people's personal testimonies, you know, they've had spiritual experiences. That stuff I believe a lot more than a scientific study. I do, because scientific studies change their mind all the time. And to preach it like it is the truth and you're crazy if you think anything else, always kind of backfires. So that's what's up. I want to talk to you. I just want to get that out of the way because we are going to talk about a lot of science, but all this is theoretical science. Nobody really knows. So we're going to get back here and we're going to jump into this a little more. So they got this thing, dark energy, and what the problem is this, is that if you believe that gravity is really the force that pushes everything together, that 85% of the known universe is gravity, is unaccounted for. So they're like, well, there must be these things like dark matter and dark energy. It's the only way that there's this huge effect of gravity on the universe that is not, nobody knows where it is, right? And we only see 4% of the known universe. We interact in that little sliver. So I want to talk about, let me see, where's the picture I really want? No. All right, we're going to jump out here. I think it's under dark energy. I want to talk about this picture. So there's a problem. And this is something that is freaking people out because they can't really understand why this is happening, the science. So there's this idea that there was some sort of event, like the Big Bang, or some reality was created where everything was kind of stuffed together. And it started forming. And then over time, things are expanding. Now, normally when you, you know, our senses say that, and the way our reality works is when you throw something or you take a firecracker and blow it up or something, eventually these particles come to a rest. They slow down. They run out of energy. Anything that's traveling eventually runs out of energy, even though it might take millions and millions of years. The problem is all these things that are expanding away from each other are picking up and speeding up energy. So how is that possible? And the best guess is that there is some sort of force called dark energy that is repelling these objects and pushing them away faster and faster. Or that's filling the spaces between these objects and shoving them away. And it's growing at an exponential speed. So the idea, I was thinking is, okay, if dark energy, they don't really understand what it is, they just understand the effects it's having on the universe. Um, what if it's thought? What if it's, there is energy associated with thought. And if you have this giant universe where you have, thousands of civilizations all producing information and consciousness and thought that I don't think dissipates, maybe that thought interacts with matter and pushes it out of the way. That energy has to go somewhere that we create. And maybe that's what dark matter really is this thought energy. There's an interesting theories that some people feel like the fifth dimension is really thought. That, it's you got the 3D and then times the fourth dimension, and thought energy is the fifth dimension. Maybe not. We don't really know. So that's the story with that. And the dark energy, again, I think is fascinating. And also, is maybe dark matter, some people even believe that you can create matter with thought, that this existence is matter with thought. So maybe dark energy is also, producing dark matter. The theories, I'm going to bring Luke on, which will kind of, help me explain this better, because I am not an expert in this field, but I do find it fascinating. And I want to make sure that we check your guys. I don't want to ignore your comments here. Doc is so smart. No, I'm not smart. There's guys way smarter than me. Okay. Dark matter is pushing and fighting gravity. What about dark matter? What about the dark matter that's being created? Okay, yeah, and again, this is what I'm saying is that we're creating energy all the time as we interact, and a lot of people like to describe it as a shared consciousness or a collective consciousness. And some of you guys that have had those experiences have seen the collective conscious, or have felt it, or have interacted with it. Some people get there through meditation, some people get there through drug use, some people get there through religious prayer, however you get there, you got there. And when you experience that, it's very real. It's much more real than this place here. And what happens is that energy building up? And is that energy getting to the point where it's so big that it has to go somewhere? And does it, since, there's this whole idea of quantum entanglement, that we can be as far apart from each other as we want, and we can still communicate through quantum particles. Well, a lot of people think that quantum particles and stuff are really thought energy. That they're the only things small enough to cross in and out of the brain and fly through all those, cellular barriers. This particle can come in and out and go into space and come back through. And they think that the quantum particles are actually thought. So, or it's an interesting topic. I want to I want to talk about this, but I don't want to ignore your questions. Brian Jacobson says, has anyone else in here heard that banana peels produce dark matter? No, I have not. I have not heard about that. I guess you're not joking. That's a new theory to me. So yeah, you want to type more about that. Also, Luke, you keep sending me files on papers and stuff through Skype. Luke, I can't read those while I'm on air. So yeah, you might want to stop on that. I can't do anything about them. Okay, Tracy says, Taryn, if you follow quantum theory, there's an idea that, there's an idea that dark matter is the light matter in another dimension. Yeah, and that's another thing is, all right, say you believe in the multiverse, where, every time we make a decision, it creates a new universe, or there's just endless universes bumping into each other and being next to each other and crossing over and coming through. And some of you guys that were really heavy in the Mandela effect, you thought that's probably what was happening, is we were merging in and out of other universes or realities. There's another theory that dark matter is simply gravity from a multiverse that's connected. So their gravity is crossing over into our universe, and since we can't measure it, I mean, we can measure it, but we can't see it, and we don't know what it is. That maybe it's interacting into this universe, and I absolutely believe in there's just multiple realities out there, and you can interact with them. So I wouldn't doubt that. It's just when I do when I have my own personal experiences, I feel like it's thought energy, that energy is going somewhere, but it could be. I mean, we're energy. We're just walking around in this meat suit here to experience this reality. So yeah, that could be. Okay. I am going to try. Dana says, this conversation is so cool, I'm sorry I'm missing it. Yeah, sorry, Dana. I know you got to work for a living. I appreciate that. And Jorah, you're going to go buy bananas today. All right. You guys. All right, I don't doubt. I've just never heard of that, Brian. I have no idea why bananas are the crossover to the dark matter. But I will say that little end of the banana, you know when you get the banana and it's like all yummy, and then there's that little rotted end that we call it Satan's anus, where you like get to break off that piece and throw it. The Satan's anus, maybe that is the dark matter. Who knows? All right. You guys probably didn't know that about bananas. Now you learned something. I need that graphic that says, and now you know, with the little stars from the 70s, and so now you learned something about bananas and Satan's anus. Check out the book, The Secret of Creative Vacuum by John Davison. Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I'm not. The banana thing is for real. All right, Unirock, when you come on, you'll have to talk about that. But I am going to have my friend Luke on here in a minute, and he is coming through Skype. I've never done a Skype interview before, so hopefully this works. After that, Unirock, I'll pick you up on Discord and bring you in if you want. Unless you're on Skype, Uni, then I can just add you to the conversation. Satan likes pineapples. Oh, I didn't know Satan had a particular fruit he's interested in. Dana says, I can see the energy of thought coming out of people when they talk. It's amazing. I agree. It's thought energy. Yeah, and this is kind of where I'm getting at, is if we're all interconnected and we can use thought with each other, and like Jacob Israel did something where there's a new study that showed that thought between a mother and a child was transmitted. There was like an energy when a mom looked at her child's eyes, they could communicate telepathically, and they were doing all these studies on it. And anyone that, if you talk to moms, they know what their kids are doing. There's also I think a very concrete study that people attach that way to their pets. What happened is they were saying that these pets knew when their owners were coming home, and the pets could read the mind. And honestly, this happens with me and the cat. Like, I'll be checking all day long, and I'll hear the cat in my mind, and I'll know he's at the door. So he'll call me, and I'll go let him in, and he'll be there most of the time, or he's soon to come. So there was these studies people were doing where they were they would take somebody who said they were connected to their pet, and they would take this person out shopping, and the person had no idea when they were going to return home. So it wasn't like, you set a schedule and the pet knows when you're coming home. They randomly picked a time, and they were filming the pet, and within like minutes of them randomly picking the time, and the person who is connected to the pet starts thinking, okay, I'm going home, the pet wakes up and starts looking out the window and gets ready for their owner. So they did this multiple studies, and it happened with all these people and pet owners, that they were connected telepathically to their pets, that the pets knew when they were coming home, and they would get very, very excited. So there is there's definitely connections that don't matter about distance with your mind and thought energy. And I do believe that that thought energy can cross into this reality, other realities, in and out. And I, so we had this problem though, right? Like, what is going on with why is this happening? Why is there no dark energy at the beginning of the universe, and now it's almost all dark energy, and it's compacting everything else out? So, I think, and this is something I have another theory about, is that if we are in a simulation, or that it works a lot like computers, perhaps you start a game on a server, and more people come and start playing this game, and they start filling up your server with data, and over time your server gets so full that it is cram packed that the original game is just a little slice, and now everything else is all the data of people talking and playing and communicating in the game. I think that's what's happening in this reality, is as it's exponentially growing, the actual original game is being compressed by all of our save points. All of our, every time we interact in this reality, and we keep a stream of that data, it's all being compacted. And I think eventually the server's going to run out of energy. They're not going to be able to upgrade the server. You're just going to have to reboot and go to a new server. And I think that's what happens when people jump realities. They eventually the server fills up, and then they're like, okay, we got to go somewhere else because this server is full and glitchy, and it starts breaking down. And maybe that's what the Mandela effect was, the server glitching out and breaking down. Who knows? These are all just ideas floating around in my head. So let me see if I can get Luke on here. Luke, I'm going to bring you in through Skype. Now, for you guys that know, I have been a Mac person for 10 years, and I just got a PC like at Christmas. So I don't know how to use Skype very well. I'm trying to figure it out, and I hope you guys will be patient. So I'm going to be calling you, Luke, if you're listening, and let's see if I can get you in here. Okay, I think he's connecting. And if you guys have watched some of my stories, you might have seen Luke before. Okay, let me move you over. Yeah, okay, I got you. There you are. He's fixing your hair. Luke, if you guys who are listening, make sure that you guys can hear Luke. Luke, can you do a little sound check for him? Just say your name and tell him.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, tell him a little bit about yourself. I met Luke originally. He was doing very cool computer freedom stuff, where he was making computers to help free us from the backdoor firewalls of the government. So, Luke, if you want to give them about a minute or two of what you do, and then after that we will dive into this topic.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm a free software Libra and hardware advocate and developer. I have a very interesting open mind on all sorts of topics, but my main focus is to seek out, understand, and explain archaic and esoteric technology. But even more than that, quite recently, I've come to understand that it is really quite important to stick to an ethical framework for that introduction. If you're familiar with Tim Cook's "We Did It to Ourselves" famous article.
No, yeah. I don't know that one, but you might want to give us a minute synopsis on that.
Just look it up. It's the CEO of Apple has a brain wave realization that he is directly responsible for basically introducing George Orwell 1948 scenario.
Oh, we did it to ourselves. Yeah, and I think that's can happen. It's funny, anytime you look back in history, it is the people will start off with great intentions, and then their cool stuff they create ends up grabbed by some politician or somebody without ethics and twist it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's technology without conscience, technology without consciousness.
Yeah. So I want to now. Luke contacted me today, and he said, "Hey, man, I want to chime in on this." And since these were just kind of like theories laying around in my head, and then when I found out Luke was like, "Hey, that's a real theory that's going around," it's like, "Okay, I got to have you on because you know a lot more about it than me." So go ahead and tell us what you want to say about this topic, and anything else you want to add.
Okay, right. Well, I've been those two links I sent you are a couple of things that I think will help explain things later on. So we can drop those in later. Yeah, I have an open mind on this. I don't rule out stuff. The rule of reverse engineering in science is actually that you should not rule anything out unless you have direct evidence for it. The unfortunate thing is many physicists completely ignore that. You met Bob Podolsky, yeah?
Liberty Forum. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill of Ethics and all that stuff. Bill of Ethics and all that stuff. As a scientist, his father was a famous scientist who worked with Bell on a proof of a famous theorem. So he was training. He said, certainty is a pathological state of mind, which is brilliant. It's like, if you are certain about something, you are mentally ill. It's just straight back.
It's actually pretty brilliant. I never heard that because,
yeah,
like, to me, that's I'm a man of science, and I know people see me and I look like some like beat up hippie, but they don't realize I've got multiple degrees. I've got 16, 17 years of higher education, and I just the more stuff I learn, the more I realize that we don't know jack here, and that I trust my gut a lot more than any sort of scientific paper.
Now I have a bit of difficulty. Is that my mathematical sort of education sort of peaked at about A level, pre university. So if it's above that, I can't understand it.
Yeah, and
I can trust.
That's something I think important, Luke, is, a lot of people understand the theories behind quantum physics and dark matter and but they're just parroting back information from mathematicians that if they actually looked at the math equations, they'd have no clue what the hell's going on. Like, there's only a small percentage of people that understand, mathematical proofs at that level. So we're taking their word for...
Here's my layperson understanding of what quantum mechanics is. Okay, it's very, very simple. It's taking electromagnetic equations from Maxwell's theorem and moving them to the frequency domain. That's it. Right, you take an FFT, like on your stereo, you have the graph, the boom, boom, and boom, boom, thing. That's a frequency graph. It's called a Fourier transform. And that's all quantum mechanics is. So there is no quantum mechanical object. There is no object that is a quantum object. It is a mathematical construct of a Fourier transform of the frequencies of the real underlying object.
All right, dumb that down I got a little lost on that. So you're saying you got these frequencies, you're transferring this information into frequencies, and that
yes,
so we can understand it better, this information.
And, like on your stereo.
Yeah.
A spectrum analyzer.
Okay, the thing the graph that shows you the ups and downs and peaks and stuff.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That's a frequency graph. It's called a Fourier transform.
All right.
But it is not. When you look at the graph, it is not the music, is it?
No, it's a representation of the highs and lows and the beats.
Yes, exactly. Therefore, when you were talking earlier about that, I think there might be a quantum mechanical object out there. It's false. It's a mathematical it's a mathematical construct only.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't explain that well because people toss around the word like quantum computers and quantum this and quantum that. It's the new buzzword.
Yeah. We got a message there. This guy is too technical for me. That's why I'm talking to Taryn. So if Taryn can understand it, he can explain. That's why I
I'm,
mentioned about
I'm apparently your translator. There you go.
yeah. That's why I mentioned about the spectrum analyzer, because you can understand. You get the spectrum analyzer on the front of your stereo. That's how quantum mechanics relates to things, objects.
I gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about for you guys coming in late and missed the whole beginning of the show. I explained what dark matter was and dark energy, and how there's this weird thing that people can't really see, but they can measure. It's kind of like wind. That if you take a picture and some trees are sideways, you can't see the wind, but you know it interacts with the trees. That's kind of the same logic the scientists use. That something's screwing with the gravity in the universe. And I think maybe it is thought energy, that all this thought is being put somewhere and it goes out into space and it is just pooling there and pushing all the matter around. So that was my idea of how to explain it, but I don't know. Go ahead, because when I said this, that Luke was like, hey, there's a scientist here in Taiwan that is busting this out. So why don't you dive into that a little?
Yeah, cool. Okay, so for those people who are interested, I can send a link to his book. If I can find it. So his name is Professor C.D. Yang, Xiandong Yang, and he came up with a way to transform the standard equations that we know of, Einstein's laws of motion and stuff. And he transferred those into the frequency domain, into the quantum mechanics world. But in doing so, there was something very, very interesting, which any other Western scientist would have gone, oh, this is complete rubbish. This is implications that thought is possible to transmit across the universe. That must be rubbish. Therefore, my theory must be completely wrong. But because he was an Eastern mindset, an Eastern philosophy, he was able to accept this. And so he carried on and wrote an entire book about it. And he now teaches students how to do quantum mechanics if they are first trained in standard engineering. And it works. Very good. And his paper that he wrote, I'm going to read the title. I'm not sure if you can actually get this online. I did a quick search an hour ago and I couldn't find it. It's called The Science of Mind-Matter Union. And in it, Professor Yang explains that having gone through what's called the complex mechanics, which is the complex number plane, a square root of -1, you can jump sideways, all right, to the standard number plane. And the implications from his book, from his paper that he wrote, are that if you think it, you are there. Literally, instantaneously. Right? There's no barriers. There's no time delay. If you have a picture across the other side of the universe and you imagine it in your mind, you are literally connected to it. And you do a thing. You told the stories about those pets. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I have a friend who has a similar story. He's a meditator, and he was out walking with a friend one day, and he saw in the distance, it was a beautiful walk and everything, and looking in the distance, he thought, a short-sighted guy, haven't got his glasses on, looked in and said, what the heck is that over there? And it was about a mile and a half away. And he put his glasses on, he went, oh, it's a horse. The moment he thought that, this horse's head went straight up, turned, and looked straight in his direction from a mile and a half away.
Wow.
Right? And what he realized was, when he thought it was a horse, he transmitted his consciousness to the horse. The horse went, oh, I am a man. Whoop. Yeah. So we can, it was a thing. And it's.
Do you think the consciousnesses are connecting or reflecting? Like you're saying, if you think it, you become it somewhere else. So if I'm like, hey, I want to be a horse, I'm a horse across the universe somewhere else for a minute, and then I come back.
Yeah, both. Whatever you think happens. Literally, whatever you believe is the case. That's the implications of this. All right, for the thing, and it's right there in Professor Yang's paper that this is actually really possible. What is utterly ironic, okay, is that if you do not believe, that is also a thought, and that thought has a direct effect and prevents and prohibits anyone and anything from reaching you. It's self-protecting. So if you want to believe in your own reality, you literally create a bubble of reality around you that repels anything that would contradict your reality. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think that really goes a lot with my own beliefs. It's a good way to say it, because I'm constantly preaching that you create your own reality here, that it's malleable and you can change it. But I also believe in collective consciousness as an influence. So if you're hanging out with a lot of other people that believe in the same reality, that energy kind of holds it in place. And then if the mass conscious change, if all of a sudden we're like, hey, you know what, I want cats to speak, and people really believe cats could speak, and enough of us did, all of a sudden that reality would happen. That you can shift realities with enough conscious energy, mass conscious energy.
Lagrange's theorem: a group subdivides a group. It's consistent knowledge, coherent knowledge cannot exist unless it has more than one person to exist in. That's one of the things I picked up from somewhere.
Oh, very deep. All right. So I've never heard that one. That's pretty cool.
Lagrange's theorem is supposed to be applied to mathematics, but it's if you take it to its logical extent that all knowledge can be mathematics as well, and sort of in a consistent mathematical theory, then, and your thought can be also included in that, then sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, because I just, it's these ideas that we talk about all the time, and then he'll be like, oh yeah, that's a mathematical theory that's applied to this, and I think that's cool. I do believe that is the direction of the future, that math will be used to help reinforce these esoteric ideas, that eventually math will catch up to what people knew 3,000 years ago looking at, some religious book. they kind of already explained how consciousness works. And but I think it's important because, like me and you, we're both science guys too, so it feels good to have that logical side kick in and accept it. It's very hard to accept stuff just on faith without some sort of science behind it.
Yeah. Well, it's already happened.
Oh, well, go on, tell me.
The Maharishi Mahesh, the Transcendental Meditation Movement, a friend of mine worked with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he showed that one of the theories from that time maps directly onto Vedic Sanskrit ancient texts.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really neat. And I spent some time at an ashram in India, and they were trying to prove, they were doing an Agni-Hota fire ceremony, and they were trying to prove that there was actual science behind it, and they got it funded at a university that this fire ceremony sterilizes the environment around it. It was really interesting that they would burn this and do these chants, and then they would measure the bacteria levels in and out, and it would actually work. So it's neat that they're starting to try to apply some actual science to these theories that, and you're saying that it maps directly to old Vedic text.
Yeah.
Right on. Did I lose you, Luke? You there?
Sorry, I was just looking at the
you're reading the comments.
The chat for a bit.
Yeah, if you want to answer anyone in the comments, feel free to answer any questions you see going by. If you have something you want to say, Brian Johnson says, supposedly in creating our own reality, our cells break down and reform 2 billion times a second. Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, all right, imagine we're all really, this meat suit we see here is just like a virtual avatar that if you reprogram it from the other side, it changes. So me and y'all are we're all playing Warcraft together, and a new
Yeah.
update comes out and
Yeah.
says, you know what? Now your characters are going to have, you can change hairstyles more or whatever. So down here, all of a sudden, we all get all these new hairstyles that it changed instantaneously. It's kind of the same idea that as you change realities on a mass conscious scale, that ripples through and has, but instead of you know ones and zeros, we're converting those ones and zeros to matter, the matter that
Yeah.
we understand.
Basically, yeah. It's so important to emphasize, though, that if people do not believe, then that lack of belief, what that they do not believe, does not affect the fundamental fact that they are using the energy of the universe to propagate that lack of belief.
Yeah.
And it's self-protecting. It's like it's like an electromagnet. It's like a magnet. You know, you turn it to north south, south north. If people don't believe, they will literally repel those people who do.
And
It's a protecting point.
I think that's so true. I mean, in I can't tell you how many times I've got on here and I'm like, you know, if you live in a pool of negativity and you attract negativity and you are a negative person, that becomes your reality. That you can change your reality. And
comment: perception is different for everyone. Yes.
Oh yeah, Raquel says perception's different for everyone, and that is something that's really weird for some people to accept. That there can be two realities at the same time. My reality could, even though we can interact and converge, my reality could be very different than your reality. You know, but we can still exist here in the same time in the same space. We just kind of our actions are limited. I think. I don't know.
Well, that's where the filters come in, the frequency filters. Do you know, like on going back to the audio thing again? Do you know when you have the booster things? You know, you can increase the bass.
Yeah.
And you can bring down the treble and stuff and blah blah blah. All right. If we did not have that ability, we would literally go mad.
Oh yeah.
Right. So we filter. The rapid eye movements, because I'm looking at the chat. I'm flicking to the chat to say hi to people there.
Sure. Answer anything you want.
Right. No, just reading that thing. So it's but where the frequency graph, where the spectrum analyzer thing and the boosting of the 20 hertz and things breaks down, is that actually moves out to multidimensional. All right. So we can have a filter for our home life, a filter for our belief in whether the water is safe, a filter for everything, a filter for religion, thing, absolutely everything. Thing. Our entire existence is based on the thing. Our consciousness is totally based on these filters, and it's which ones we switch on and which ones we switch off define where we do, what we do, how we do it, and how we think.
Yeah, I like that analogy that you basically can set up your reality with sliding switches to how much you want to have in your reality for this and that, like an equalizer. It's a cool idea. That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
I also think that you know, that the reality we're in is so very different than what we see that it would basically make your mind explode to see the real stuff. That your brain has to take these gravity waves and the matrix we live in and assemble all this stuff, and that your eyes are lying to you all the time. That to think that there's, you know, a chair I can sit in and I can steadily talk to people enough. But if you were to remove the way we interact in this reality, it is nothing like what it is here. This is a filter that we have to put on ourselves in order to have these sort of interactions slowed down so we can have these experiences.
Yeah, it was explained by sort of thing, because I got to learn a lot of stuff from the Maharishi, you know, from the TM and things. There was one thing somebody asked Maharishi the question: Maharishi, could you elevate us to the same level of consciousness that you are at, and you know, give us the transcendence? Yes, I could, but if I did, 10 men could not hold you down. You'd go mad. People have to develop on their own.
That is
critically.
I think that's a big point. Is this information you're not supposed to have it all at once. You're supposed to have it filtered
No,
in because
you can't.
there's
You can't.
physical limitations to this place. Your brain and how this works. But what?
A really good reason.
Yeah, this is all. I describe it like this: that you have all this information everywhere, and it's kind of like the internet, where there's just all massive amounts of information on nodes and stuff. But the only thing you're experiencing is your monitor. What you're looking at on your monitor at this split second is now, this is reality to you. Your eyes are the same way. They're like monitors that they can take this crazy information that's blasting around the universe and filter it into one little spot so you can interact with it. And then your eyes are only as real as like a computer screen. So it is only seeing one little minute slice of information compared to what's out there on the entire internet. And that's the same way as your computer screen works. So just got to remember that, guys. What we see is just one little slice, and it's only our perception at that moment. It's like what you're watching on your screen right now. Once that moment's over, it's back out into the ether. It goes back out. So that's the way I kind of describe it.
Y'all know you're allowed to use more than one computer, right?
Well, yeah, there you go. Talk to me. So keep going. Oh, Banjojo gave me a donation. Thank you, Banjojo. You get the Hypno Cat. Right there. Love you. Right there, Banjojo. I'm glad you dig the Saturday shows. I do them for you guys that have to work for a living. So there you go. Okay, Unirock keeps coming on and off. Unirock, I've asked you like 4 times. Do you have Skype? Because right now I'm interviewing him on Skype, and I don't know if I can pull up Skype and Discord at the same time. If you want to come in on Skype, I can do that. I can bring you in. So give me your Skype. If not, you're going to have to wait till we're done. Me and Luke are done, and then I'll pull you in through Discord, and I'll be happy to let you go. So go ahead. Luke, do you have any more stuff you'd like to add on this topic? Otherwise, we'll talk about computers.
Yeah, I do. There wasn't just the sorry, from the okay. Directly on topic. My take on dark matter. It is. Am I allowed to use? Okay, I'll just say I believe it to be excrement.
Yeah, don't. I was gonna say don't cuss if you don't mind, but
yeah. Okay. All right. I think.
Family show.
Yeah. I have an alternative theory, and it's based on the a long chain of things I've been studying this for 32 years, but I've had to sort of put my own filters on stuff which I can't understand. So all right. So the basic theory goes that all matter is looped photons. All right, that an electron is a photon which has got itself trapped onto its in a sphere, okay, onto a surface of a sphere. All right, and it attracts itself. Okay, and photons are electromagnetic. All right, so they can attract themselves. So they get into a loop. Thing. All right. And all other particles are the same. So your neutrino, and then you can have compound ones where they can overlap in a harmonious way, which support each other. All right? So from that, it goes up to the, well, what do you know, Taryn, of chemistry? You know about hydrogen. Hydrogen is the hydrogen gas is 2 protons, yeah? Hydrogen bonded with hydrogen.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right, cool. So you have 2 electrons. Each hydrogen atom has an electron, and they bond together. So then they create a bond, right? And they share, 2 hydrogen atoms share two electrons, all right, to bond together.
Okay.
Now, based on some of the stuff that Professor Yang was doing, what do you think that it would be? Would it not be reasonable for a neutron not to be neutral, but to be magnetically charged with, oh, I don't know, a neutrino around it, in exactly the same way that you have a proton, a hydrogen atom has an electron.
I don't know. I never thought about it, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So what do you think would happen if a neutron had, in exactly the same ways you have these bonds, bonded to another neutron?
They don't really have charges, so I guess they would.
They have charges, this neutrino charge.
Well, the neutrino charges, yeah, but the.
Yeah. All
okay,
right.
go ahead.
Bear with me.
Go ahead.
Bear with me.
Remember to keep it in layman's terms so folks can follow you on here that aren't chemistry folks.
Atoms are made up of protons and neutrons. The neutron's supposed to be neutral. But what I suspect, the hypothesis that I've got, is that they're magnetically charged or something similar. And that neutrinos orbit neutrons in exactly the same way that electrons orbit protons.
I got you. Okay.
Therefore, the rules that apply for the chemical bonds between protons also apply to neutrons, but with neutrinos instead of electrons.
So where are you going with that to wrap up? I'm following you. Okay.
If you had a neutron bonded to another neutron, it would be magnetically inert, electrically inert, chemically inert, and so how the hell would you detect it? Sorry for.
Oh, that's fine. You can say hell.
Yeah.
Hell's not a bad word.
How would you detect it? If a neutron bonded to a neutron as a chemical compound, how would you detect it?
Well, I don't think you'd have to see how it interacts with forces around. I mean, it'd be kind of like the dark matter thing. Yeah. You can't really look at it. You just have to detect how it acts.
Exactly.
Well,
it would be electrically inert, magnetically inert, chemically inert. It would interact with nothing around it. And that's what I think that dark matter is. It's very simple. It's a neutron bonded to a neutron with two. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Light bulb's gone on.
There you go.
Working
your way around to it. I got it. Yeah. All right. I mean, sure. It's just as good a theory as I got. So I love it. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm going to try to bring in my friend here, but there is a question here though first, and so you'll have to look on your other computer to see this. But I'm going to drop the Schulman resonance, guys. I know I haven't talked about this in a while, but if you're new to the show and you don't know what this is the resonance that comes off the Earth. And it is normally supposed to be, the average is around, that most life runs at 7.93. It's been ramping up over the last 2 years over 40. And I was like one of the first people to...
And exponential multiples thereof.
It's
don't forget that.
Really ramping up, and this is the last few days. Now, for you guys, it has been quiet. Oh, and if you don't understand how to read this, what you're looking at is the 40 is on the bottom here, and the more light this thing is, the closer it is to 40. And we're supposed to be, healthy life runs at 7.93. So when the Earth starts really jacking up, people feel uncomfortable and angry and bitchy. And we used to have like a warning meter where it was like, oh, the Schulman resonance going nuts. Be ready. Here we go. But what's interesting is I think we've adapted to it over the last few years because I didn't notice much difference in this was the last 3 months. And so it is ramping up. The last 3 months, it is like in December, it's starting to go nuts again. So I'm curious because for last year, it was pretty quiet, part of it. Like it ramped and then went quiet. So Miss Waffles wanted me to ask you your opinion of the Schulman resonance, and then I'm going to bring Uni Rock on because he has been waiting to come in. So I might see if I can bring him in now, too. So go ahead if you want to say something on that.
The only thing that I know about that I did actually research it, but it was actually related to these free energy things. my take on this is if you look up something called the Akula device and the QEG, both are saying a similar principle. What I think is going on is that those devices are not free energy at all. They are simply tuning in and treating the Earth and the ionosphere of the Earth as part of the circuit. Okay? All right, so you tune a circuit, an electrical circuit, into the Schumann resonance at 400 and something kilohertz. It's a multiple of the thing. And you can gain electrical energy out of it. The only thing is, from what you're saying, is that lots of people have produced these things, like reproduced the Akula device, that it changes, the frequency changes. All right, it changes based on exactly as the information that you've just said, that, you know, the Earth's ionosphere, it's the Earth's ionosphere, right? But also, it depends on where your geographic location is, right? Because you're part of the circuit. So people, this guy, a Akula device was done in Russia. Of course, if you take the guy's circuit and you reproduce it exactly and run it in Europe, it's not going to work. So you have to change it. Yeah.
Well,
I am very passionate about and understanding about this stuff.
Yeah,
Thanks.
because I used to use it in healthcare. We have these Schumann devices that help rebuild nerves. What happened was people would get nerve damage, and you could push through 7.93 on the nerve, and it would cause the nerve to start remyelinating and start healing. And
cool.
And so we were using these electrical energy, and then all of a sudden the Earth started going nuts around 2015, 16, especially, where the Schumann resonance was like quadrupling and rocketing off the schedule, and this energy medicine stuff really wasn't working as well as it used to. And I decided to do a story about it where I talked about, how the Schumann resonance works. It's a sphere and a sphere. It's a pressure between them. And if you guys look it up, it's one of my more popular stories. You'll see a lot of hits on it. And I had this idea for a free energy machine that, maybe you could get something that creates a piezoelectric effect, like some sort of tuning fork, that every time the Schumann resonance hit that tuning fork, it would ring it and make...
It's being done.
It would vibrate it and then turn it into electricity. And I don't know.
It's being done.
Yeah, it's being done. Tell me about it, because I've never seen it.
Okay, I think if you look it up, okay, all right, you're not going to believe this. Okay, you have to go to
PES
Wiki.
I'm getting all this crazy information.
Right. You have to go PES Wiki, all right, look up AKULA, Akula device, okay, and they link you to page 748 of this ridiculously long 1,1400 page long forum, all right, and on page 748 there's a circuit diagram, right? But also you can find YouTube videos. There's this guy who's done one. He did one 1,200 watts, okay, all right, and he plugs it into the ground. All right, he connects a 12-volt battery to give it a jump start, and the circuit starts running. And it's this big sort of thing. It's like one of those Van de Graaff generators. It's like warm. It's like, stand back, sort of thing. And he twiddles with these light bulbs, and one of them goes pop. Right, so he's got 4 light bulbs left, and they're 250 watt each. And there's nothing plugged in. Right, it's just plugged into the ground. Okay, but that jump start creates that Schumann resonance. The multiple of things up at about 400, somewhere between 400, 450 kilohertz. A thing jump starts the whole thing, and he gets 1,200 watts out of this circuit, enough to be able to power 4 light bulbs. It should have been 5.
Wow. All right. So, sorry. Everybody's seeing what I'm looking at here. I'm trying to bring in my friend here. I had never. I'll have to look that up. I've never seen it. Darn. Unirock, I don't think we're connected as friends, so maybe I can't bring you in until we do. Send me a friend request or something. How do I bring him in?
He's. You can look it up. Taran space Lupo on Skype, dude, and you'll find his contact details.
So I've got his message. Maybe I've got to accept. Here we go. I'm accepting him. And now maybe I can add him to this.
Yeah, I think now you can do add to conversation or something. I don't know.
How do I get back to you? There we go. I'm sorry. Like I said, guys, you guys will have to be a little patient. I've never used Skype, so this is new to me.
I am now a small box in the bottom corner of the screen now. Yeah, that's good. Good. That's a good sign.
Here we
Taryn.
are. Okay, and create group. I hope this works. And if it doesn't, I'll pull you guys all back in. I saw them appear for a sec. Uni, are you there? Hello, what happened? Did I just destroy it? Oh, jeez. I don't know if you can see him. Can you see him, Luke, in our group?
It's sort of working, maybe.
Oh no, let me find him.
Sound has gone.
I don't even
Sound
see
has
him in
gone
here.
quiet.
Oh, maybe I have to do this sort of view. Hold on. Oh, we should have practiced with this. Okay, Unirock, I don't have any sound on you either, and I got no video on you.
I know what it is. It's gone on to it's gone off to device speaker or something.
It says we have a group, but I don't see our group.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Do I have to hit this call button? Not on this call, it says. Do I have to move him into the call? That's really weird.
There, it's working.
Oh, there he goes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yay!
I don't see a picture, but I hear you. So we'll
yeah. I won't have a picture. I don't think. Is it showing my regular picture?
It's just showing your little Unirock talking. Yeah.
Okay.
You're fine. Everybody knows who you are. You don't need a picture. We're good.
Yeah, I'm live on Twitch right now. Is why my camera's being.
So your webcam's being eaten up by that. I got you. Okay.
Oh wait, I can switch to my other webcam. I think. Let me try.
Yeah. And guys, thanks for your patience. I appreciate it. I do have people watching over at YouNow and DLive, although YouNow never seems to work with the sounds all wacky. I'm streaming over at Twitch, so hi Twitch people, and Periscope. And I think maybe Periscope finally, they said they fixed the chat over there, so maybe that works. I don't know, but I'm everywhere. I'm like Mr. Universe on Firefly. I'm everywhere. Wherever it goes, that's where I'm at. So, okay, Unirock. If you have not met Luke, but feel free to say hi. Unirock is another one of my probably my best friend at YouTube's, and we support each other's show. And Luke,
hi, Unirock.
If you ever need a guest that really understands computers, man, or that, you should talk to Luke Unirock. He knows like everything. So there you go. Yeah. All right. So go ahead. Unirock, pitch your 2 cents.
Are you a fellow hacker, Luke?
Yeah, I am. I did reverse engineering of Samba TNG back in. I did the NG domain stuff for Samba TNG back into 1997 to 2001.
Awesome. I recently hacked into Verizon's cell towers to triangulate someone's position. So
well, might not want to admit that on air.
It wasn't against their privacy. She called us and said that she was going to be murdered, and we couldn't get a hold of her or find her. And I was like,
on one of your live shows?
No. This was. I didn't do this live. Come on.
No, I thought someone was calling in on the show saying that.
Oh, no. It was my ex-wife called her mother. I talked to my ex-mother-in-law all the time, and she was like, please help me. And the only thing I could do was get on the computer and try. So, but it worked. We found her, so.
Cool. Very cool. Saved her life.
Well, she was lying, though, the whole time.
Attention seeker.
There you go. No, but I mean, I like the dark matter, dark energy debate. I used to sit on the side that, I mean, I kind of see why scientists say that it's a thing, because they see that galaxies and bodies are moving apart at a very rapid pace when they look out to the universe. But I'm on the camp of, I don't know. I mean, I get that they're calling it dark energy and dark matter as kind of a catch-all for that thing, but and I know there's two different things between dark matter and dark energy, but the thing I'm saying is whatever one makes the galaxies spread apart, it's causing the universe to spread apart. I don't know if they're naming it just because they can't figure it out, or if they actually see a phenomenon that is real. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's a phenomenon or if it's the consequence of another one.
It's exasperating. Are you familiar with something called the Standard Model?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you know how many, and you're familiar with, and you're a computer person, okay, so you know the term magic constant.
Oh yeah.
It's a number you make up. For people who are not familiar with this, like a magic constant is something
like fill in the blank type stuff.
For us lay people, it's like a ad lib or something. I mean, a Mad Lib where you keep an empty space and then you make up a number for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Guess how many magic constants there are in the standard model?
I'm just gonna guess one. I would think maybe dark matter, but I guess there could be many more. So.
No. Go on. Keep going.
10, 100.
Thing down.
Okay. 62. I'll go 62.
It's 27.
Oh, I was pulling for 42. I was hoping it was the answer.
Answer. What do you get? What you get if you multiply 6 by 9? Yes, the answer to life.
That's right. It was wrong.
27 numbers, but they've got no idea. They're just we don't know. We'll just put them in there.
And that's what they named dark matter. That it was just one of those constants, right?
No, and I think it's because it's so completely incapable of answering things. It gets things very, very accurate in some cases, but they've got no idea what they're doing for the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it's like, oh God, there's so many people, intelligent people, and they're just guessing. They don't know. They don't know.
And see, I think that's what fuels a lot of conspiracy theories, because people will, run with that fact that, they don't necessarily look at all the things the standard model does explain, but they take a bunch of, things it doesn't, run with it a little. I feel like they've got a lot of stuff down, but, there's a lot of things that people say could explain dark energy, and I've heard one person say that, the fact that in the outer reaches of the universe, it's possible that time could work differently, that maybe time is not a constant. They assume it's a constant in the standard model, but people say that if you just take time and make it a variable, maybe because of certain conditions like gravity or something else, then, maybe that could explain why it looks like galaxies are spreading apart, but in all reality, maybe they aren't, and that's why we can't find it in the standard model. I didn't know what you thought about that, but
okay. I'm just looking for things. Okay, I'll put it into the chat. This guy's paper, I think you have to skim read it, but he's one of the very, very few people that I know of who has the ability to explain stuff in plain English. He actually uses words. Yeah, right.
Good.
So his papers are quite long, but they're full of massive things. And he's actually a patent lawyer. His name is J. Yablon. All right. Oops. Remove any web addresses and try again.
I'll have to paste it in for you because it's only the they don't let to keep spam down in the chats. We had to remove people posting links because they would come in and be like, look at my website, look at my website, look at my website. It was too much. So I'll post it in there for you if you want to drop it in the chat.
Okay. So I've put the keywords. I've put the keywords in there. Vixra, J. Yablon. If you put those in, you'll find a thing. It's his latest paper. And basically what he's pointed out is that time dilation, which is Einstein's theory of if you speed up, you get time slides down as you get closer to the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He worked out mathematically, he's got the thing with his latest paper explains that applies to electromagnetic fields as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Right? But more than that, he explains that energy equals mc squared plus half mv squared plus thing. Yeah, a famous equation, E equals mc squared. You see it on people's t-shirts.
Oh yeah.
All right. Was actually it's E equals mc squared plus Newton's law, half mv squared plus things. But what he's worked out is that there's some extra terms involving the relationship between magnetism and gravity, and between electricity and magnetism times gravity, and magnetism times electricity times gravity. There's actually 8 terms. What it means is that those energies, if you have particles, it basically means that the whole of the standard model and the whole of the understanding of particle physics at the moment is completely wrong. Because it's missing this entire fundamental pieces.
And I believe that. I had a guy on my show who he was an amateur physicist, and he explained his problems with a lot of the standard model, and I could see how what you just said completely fits in with that interview we did. It makes sense.
Hey, I want to chime in here for a sec because there was a question that came a while back that I'm going to lose if I don't ask you guys. Bree Schaefer says, I'm curious to know if either of you have any thoughts on the 19th century concept of ether and how it might relate to dark matter and dark energy. So I'm going to throw that out there to you guys. And Bree, I don't know how to say your name right. If you want to break that down for me, it's Britigina? Britine? I don't know how to say it right, so I just call you Bree. But let me know. If you guys want to hear that question again, the 19th century concept of ether and how it might relate to dark matter. So take it, guys.
The page on Wikipedia is AETHER_theories. So if you look it up on Wikipedia, it's ether theories. I'm just going to read the thing. In physics, proposes the existence of a medium, the ether, meaning upper air or pure fresh air, space-filling substance or field, thought to be necessary as a transmission medium for the propagation of electromagnetic or gravitational forces. Right, so it's the carrier medium of electromagnetism and gravity.
So the ether is this old concept that it is the connection between electromagnetism and gravity, the missing thing they can't figure out, the ether. And by the way, her name is Brittany. She just told me. I just never seen it spelled like that. So Brittany. All right. So is that what you're asking? So how do you guys think the old concept of ether relates to dark matter?
Don't know.
You stumped the panel.
You know, I guess I could see how some people look at this word ether and they think that it just means empty space, you know, like a vacuum space. But they assume maybe that's what they meant back then. And you know, there's so many weird misconceptions, in my opinion, of what space is. And you know, I like what Luke was saying about, you know, the standard model has so many variables that aren't explained. They're just represented with these little mystery numbers, because it really goes to show that in the future, once they fill in some of those mystery numbers, it's going to completely change everything else. But that's historically through science. We may completely think of space as something completely different. I mean, I have problems with space right now anyway, because we have all these glorious pictures of Saturn and all the planets, and then I remember that the sun's light barely even reaches out there, that it would be exceptionally dark out there, and that we get a lot of misrepresentations of how things really are because of movies and media. So think you know, 100, 200 years ago, that the people that sat down and thought about it really hard, I respect what they say and I take it into consideration, but it changes. I think we'll look at everything in 100 years the way we're talking about it now. It'll be completely different. So
yeah, there's even people that are that I've talked with or had on the show that don't even believe in gravity. They believe it's buoyancy. That gravity is a sloppy theory to make it work. That buoyancy is actually a much better way to describe the universe. So
I could go there, but that comes from flat Earth too. But
is that a flat Earth? I just saw the argument and it was like, well, you know, buoyancy kind of makes sense.
I put a lot of thought into it, but we have to think about space also, and how would buoyancy factor in space. You know, I don't follow flat Earth, and it makes a lot of my subscribers mad. But the reason is, I go super basic with it. Like I go super basic. I go back to saying, well, just imagine an empty universe and dump a bunch of particles in there. When they all form together, it's going to make a circle. Everything that clumps together is going to be a circle in space anyway. At first, it'll be a little rough, but that's only because all particles are going to come together from all sides, and then it completely trumps flat Earth to me, unless I'm looking at it from a purely religious perspective, as in like God created a flat plane for us to live on, which, you know, I could say that maybe science is lying to us, but it just doesn't seem that way to me right now. So I try to stick with the more scientific and, you know, even though like some people say that I'm dumb for trusting science, I don't get that I don't get that thought either, because science has been demonized, I think, in the conspiracy culture online, and I don't think it should be. Science is something that helps us explain our world, if you look at it as a religion,
it would if it was properly funded for actually people who were genuinely making genuine inquiry. Unfortunately, you got paywalled science. You can't get research for stuff that ain't mainstream.
You can't. You're right.
Isn't published.
Well, is the future though?
I've been working on a particle physics theory for 31 years, and because it is devoid of links to the scientific community, the peer-reviewed journals, right, for which you have to have an academic career, right, and forget it. I can't get in.
Well, I think things are changing because, you know, Luke, crowdfunding and the internet has changed a lot. There was a guy at PorcFest that Davi, who won all that money to do a study on cop psychology. You know, like if someone would come rescue someone from a cop, authoritarian complex. Boy, I cannot speak today. So there is crowdfunding now that I think that if you really wanted to do some unbiased research, maybe you could crowdfund, you know, your idea and get people interested. Because this is a big reason. You know, I did research. I was in honors genetics. I did all kinds of, like, helped out with, you know, some genetic research and stuff like that. And what happened was that it's super biased. Like, it's super biased. So anyone that's going to drop $10 million to find something, there's a reason somebody wants you to find it. And so there's just not any really unbiased research out there that exists that much. But maybe that'll change with crowdfunding and dropping the precedence of needing a degree and all that crap. Because it's so stupid that only PhDs do research. I mean, that's because you paid all that money.
That's why YouTube is blowing up. YouTube's blowing up. They're taking other people's logical thought process, and people are listening to it, and it's getting big. So here soon, I think, if the internet isn't censored out, then we will get somewhere. In my opinion, I hope at least. Be cool, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Karen, it had never occurred to me. Because I've been so fighting the system and going, no, I can't get funded for research.
Did I just shake your reality?
To put it as a crowdfunding project.
Yeah, I just shook his reality. Awesome. Nice. Yeah, screw working in the system, man. Disruptive technology. That's all I ever preach about is go around the system. Screw the system.
Hack the system.
Yeah, don't work with it. Make a better system. So yeah, maybe crowdfunding will be the way to go, where people will actually do research on what they actually want to see instead of what the government, some politician decides you can have the string purse do. I don't know.
You know, there's a number of people who have been following online. One of them, Carl Brannan, Hans de Vries, Jay Yablon. All of these people have worked on public forums, science physics forum, blah, 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 whatever it is. Quantum.de is another one. All right. Their work is extraordinarily easy to follow and understand, even if you can't read the mathematical equation or understand the mathematical equations, because they've interacted with people on public forums who have, during the time that they're writing the paper, they've asked them questions and had to explain it to people in plain English. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to do a paper in that fashion on this topic and actually have people ask questions to the thing. And you've just provided me with the missing piece, right? The idea of the thing. So I'm really, really grateful to you, Taryn, because of course, if I put it as a crowdfunded project, of course people are going to want to follow along. So of course there will be an audience of people who will be interested, who will be attracted to it, and will. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, that's thrilled that you got that idea. And I had originally heard about this about 10 years ago. There was something on Free Talk Live where they were starting to crowdsource. They weren't actually spending money. They were trying to solve problems as crowds. It was kind of the first time they tried it, and there was some sort of I forgot, it was some sort of like protein that had to work for an anti-cancer drug, and they had spent something like 15 years and $100 million trying to figure this thing out. and someone put it up like a puzzle online, and they cracked the thing in 24 hours with like 1,000 people working on it. And
Awesome.
they exponentially solved problems as a large crowdsourced group, and they did it for free because they thought the challenge was fun. And they were able to solve this problem, and it was solved by some, like 14-year-old Chinese kid, that just likes
Fantastic.
puzzles. They made it into a puzzle, this protein, and said, okay, here's the things they can do. And they figured it out. And ever since I heard that, I was like, why aren't we crowdsourcing ideas like that all the time? We could rapidly gain stuff, and people would do it without money. They just do it because it's kind of like looking at, why does Linux exist? Nobody's making money on it because people think it's cool to create stuff.
Well, I mean, they use it in business a lot, don't they?
Yeah, but I don't think anyone charges for any Linux stuff, do they? I mean, the open source
Yeah,
stuff?
they do.
Oh, they do. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they
Tell
do.
me, because this is your world. Tell us, why does someone... Hold on, let me pose
You're
this
not
question.
allowed to charge for this. You're not allowed to charge for the source code, but you are allowed to charge for distributing it to people, and you are allowed to charge for a warranty, and you are allowed to charge for support.
I was going to say, the whole idea of open source software, I thought a lot of it was just driven on because people think it's fun to do and cool. Like, why they'll write something and then someone will come along and be like, oh, I'm a better code. I'm going to tweak this code and it's cooler. Take a look at this version. And they just put it up.
It is, and it is.
I mean, there is that element to it, though, right?
Yeah, it is. Beyond a certain level of complexity, you just can't focus on it.
Okay.
It's impossible to do without it being fully 100% funded.
Well,
But
yeah, because I get it. When you get to a certain complex level that, you need, it's like YouTube. I can't do this 24 hours a day and not make a living at it. It's like, you got to make a living at this stuff. But what I'm trying to say is there is an element to open source stuff where people do it just for bragging rights and fun, where they're just like, hey, I made a better version of this. Take a look.
Yeah. All right, but you have to bear in mind. You have to bear in mind that the Linux kernel source code is like 30 or 40 million lines of code. It's 1,000 man-years of development.
Oh.
Right, so there is room for the scale of the small program of the tweak and things like that because it's fun. But there's also the thing is there's 10,000 people contributing on the Linux kernel. Yeah.
Well, how does that work? Yeah. Okay, let's change it because it is an interesting side thing on this topic, and you're the perfect person to answer this. For you guys that don't know, Luke develops software that is exactly what we're talking about. So when someone wants to make like an open source or base it on open source, and they want to, they still want to make a living, how is that normally done? Because this is something you're giving out to the public in an extent where it's free information basically, right? And then they can build on that.
Well, here's the thing, you see, I'm actually the poster child for that completely failing.
Well, then you're the person we need to hear from. Go ahead, tell us what's up.
So I worked on Samba, all right, I started in 1996, 1997, all right, and I got a reputation. I got a reputation in security analysis and stuff like that. Okay, all right. So I got a job offer from Internet Security Systems, so I went over to the US. But I got called. This is pioneering stuff. Nobody else had done this stuff. Everybody was thought that you could never connect a Windows machine to a Linux system at all. All right, and that was why I focused on it, to bring back that divide, because you were getting people literally throwing away tens of thousands of worth of computers and going completely to the other side on Windows and not being able to join the two. And if you made a mistake on the decision, that's it, you were done. All right, you were stuck with it. So when I managed to join these two together, it was a lot of problems were discovered in both in Windows, and so Internet Security Systems were interested in hiring me to find out those things and publish it as research. But after that, I carried on. After I stopped working for Internet Security Systems, I carried on working. But the people that I was working with, they basically pushed me out. They took credit for the work that I did, forgot to make sure that I was funded All right, this was around the time of Red Hat IPO and VA Linux IPO. And Jeremy Allison's brother was invited to get some shares in VA Linux, which was the largest IPO ever in history. It started at $14, right, for private people coming in. First day it started, it launched at $36, and by the end of the day it was $360. And Jeremy Allison's brother got an invite to go into that, and I didn't. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this pattern continued, where I would do the work, a thing that basically saved businesses worldwide billions of dollars in Microsoft licensing fees, and yet, where we think, I ended up, like 20 years later, $20,000 in debt. Right, and this is a pattern that's been repeated very recently. If you look up, there's a guy in the Gentoo project, right, $25,000 of credit card debt, and had to go to work for Microsoft in 2004. And if you've heard of things like Heartbleed and Shellshock, and the GPG developer, right, $10,000 in debt there. Right, businesses are basically forgetting the fundamental people who created the very software on which their business is founded.
Well, I mean, I think that's something on both sides. You're working in an open source free area. I mean, people are going to take your information and do with it what they want, right? I mean,
yeah, they can.
I mean, it sucks that you can't. To me, again, I think it's one of these things that maybe in time will be solved by crowdsourcing. That people will just start saying, "Oh, you're doing something cool," and you don't have to sell out to Microsoft and sell your soul to some big IPO.
There is a guy called Joey Hess who is very, very well liked, and when he lives in a off grid. He lives off grid in a log cabin somewhere. He's a great guy, and he's got all the he's got internet completely off grid internet connection and everything. And he's extraordinarily well liked, an extremely intelligent guy. When he created a project to do some offline computer home directory, so you could store your files in a server, not a cloud server. You can store everything, right? He got $60,000 in funding from running a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have never been successful at a Kickstarter. I can't get one to save my life, but so some of the stuff I see developed, it just blows me away, man. I wish I could figure out how they do it. Unirock, have you ever had any success with Kickstarters or anything like that?
I mean, you could call my YouTube channel a Kickstarter,
well,
I suppose.
You got Patreon, you got some love over there.
Yeah, I get some crowdfunding going on, but there's a lot of really bad Kickstarters that have happened. There's a lot of really good videos on that too, that where people have tried to like there's one called the Circa bracelet, which was like supposed to be almost like a Star Trek kind of bracelet, and your phone screen would be like superimposed on your arm through like a projector, and they gave millions of dollars to this, and it ended up being a big fake. Like they just took millions from people and ran off.
Man.
Yeah, there's really good videos on that stuff too.
Somebody just put a message on the thing, said, I think it helps to have a big subscriber base to do Kickstarter successfully. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
Right? There was a guy who worked for Google. He came up with this idea to create this thing where you plug in to your phone and it turns your phone into a laptop. $600,000 in the first hour of launching. Right, because he quit. He was a well-known, very prominent engineer inside Google. He proposed the idea to them, saying they didn't like it, so he went, "I'm going to quit. Bye." And obviously, his friends knew about this, so they then got on the Google engineering grapevine and told everybody about it. Had $600,000 in the first hour.
Yeah, that reminds me of the video game. I have the game. It's really good. It's called Star Citizen. It's the biggest Kickstarter ever, like 165 million. And they just released a little update for the game, and you still can't play it after 5 damn years. You don't have a game yet, but it's really cool because you can it's basically an entire universe programmed, and you can have your own Star Wars journey on this game, and it's really cool.
Do you know how long it takes the gaming industry to write a game? And that's if they've got the code base.
Oh, I would think
3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. All right, and like a team of 100 people, it costs them like about 6 to 8 million to fund them.
Yeah, that's why everybody's really upset about that game. I'm starting to ask myself if it's not a ripoff, if they're not just faking everybody out.
Well, I think there's a lot of that, and I've seen there's some stuff where that happens with cryptocurrency. They'll start a currency up and milk everybody and then disappear, or there's a lot of I mean, there's nothing new. Somebody hypes a business and then disappears, and I don't see why crowdfunding would be immune to that. So you probably got to be careful. But that's probably why the guys with established audiences do well. Their audiences already trust them. Like, I've never had an audience big enough to do any sort of crowdfunding. I wish I could. I'd love to crowdfund like a cool farming project, like build a yurt or something.
Well, have you heard of Simon Sinek's TED talk?
Yeah, oh yeah.
The one thing where he Taryn, there's this guy Simon Sinek who does this amazing TED talk where it's 20 minutes long, and it explains that most people have things the wrong way around. They have the what and the how and the why, right? And there's this beautiful bit about 16 minutes into it where he describes the approach taken by HP to sell a computer and the approach by Apple to sell a computer, and you just like, whoa. Wow, it's incredible, right? Because it explains that the why goes directly to our emotional centers of our brainstem, right? And then we justify it afterwards with the how and the what. But if you start the other way round, you're trying to explain it to the logical center, but the emotional center of the brainstem goes literally goes nah.
Oh yeah, because that is I have a background in sales, and so a lot of my jobs before I was a doctor was sales jobs, and one of the very first things you do is people buy on emotion, they don't buy on logic, and it's the same whenever you're trying to convince someone or persuade people in an argument. You always need to go to the emotional and moral argument compared to the logical. You could, especially with libertarian arguments and stuff like that, you could lay out something beautifully logical and people will be like, oh, that's nice, and that's it. It never gets in their head. But if you go in sideways as an emotional or a moral question, then they start thinking about it. And I would say that's the same thing.
Do you remember Unipro from it?
Who?
He said Martin Luther King did not go to say, I have a plan.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
I have a plan. That's a good idea. That is pretty funny.
It was an I have a dream speech, not an I have a plan speech.
Oh, man. For you guys just coming in, we were talking about dark matter all in the beginning of this and how thoughts interact. And if you guys have any last thoughts you want to add on dark matter, you see how that segue? Thought energy and dark matter. Okay, how about last thoughts on dark matter? So put all that together, and if you guys have anything else you want to say on that, then we can just BS the rest of the hour. Because I saw some people coming in. Unirock, did you have any other ideas on that, or are you good on dark matter?
Or dark energy. I can't wait till we get more from the scientific community, but I just hope we all take a step back and use our logical mind to figure it out. A lot of people are experts, quote unquote experts on these types of fields, but it just seems like they forget a lot of the basic tenets. I mean, even though we look at dark matter and space and all this and put a lot of weight into it, we still aren't going to ever go there in our lifetime. We aren't. Maybe our kids or something. So, I mean, even though it is one of the coolest things to look at, I still not to try to dream on it too hard, try to stay in the now. That's all I got, Doc.
What about you, Luke? Do you want to say your 2 cents on this topic before we close it?
I've been studying the particle physics theory, which I've been looking for something which is actually based in mathematics and reality, not in postulated stuff for a long, long time. Um, there is no. I have not found any evidence to support the hypothesis that dark matter exists. Dark energy exists yet.
All right. And as far as my closing thoughts on it, I believe it is thought energy. I believe that when you think or you have spiritual energy, that has to go somewhere. And I think that space, the spots between spaces are probably spots between realities or interstitial spaces that this information leaks into different realities. I do believe that actual space is a fabric between realities, that a lot of these things we see up in space are other realities, not necessarily even um,
Oh, oh,
universes or galaxies. I think they're actually other realities. Yeah, what did you
one,
want to add to
one,
that?
one. Yeah, one beautiful thing I thought was just saying. Okay, all right. Do you remember I mentioned that thing about the photon? I think it's basically an electron is basically all particles are a sphere. Okay, right. Okay.
Okay.
If you expand that out hugely, right, you get to the thing of a black hole. So basically, the biggest particles in the universe are black holes that protect each other. They protect each other through that event horizon, but it means that there's stuff inside. There's a field inside, and that I think is basically the field that's inside is another universe. So I reckon that if you could travel in to a black hole, if you could actually get through the event horizon, it's beautiful because it protects itself. It protects that bubble universe from outside interference.
That makes a lot of sense. There is a theory, as far as I forgot to throw in there, about dark matter and dark energy, that the event horizon on a black hole, like you're talking about, they've got this weird thing they figured out with math now. Who knows if this is true? But if you throw in something into a black hole, a 3D object, that its representation, the information that object has, gets pushed to the event horizon. So, in other words, something can exist in two places. The 3D object can be in the black hole, but the information of the 3D object is at the lens of the black hole. And that they think these lenses can simply project a reality. That this reality we see is actually two-dimensional, that's being projected like a 3D image.
Could that be what the giant black holes in the center of our galaxies do? Project the reality of the galaxy out to us?
Yeah, I mean, think about you have these multiple universes that are right next to each other or intertwined or mixed up, that every time they touch or bump, maybe it creates a white hole or a black hole where they combine and they're sharing information, and that's really what it looks like. And maybe space isn't anything like what we think it is. That
I don't think it is.
It is really not that far from us, and we're just like looking. We think it is, but is it just simply a physical representation of holes into other dimensions and universes and realities?
I think I think we're all gonna float through it when we die, is what I think.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds.
No, that's what's, I don't know. I just trying to mess with that. There was a question from Banjojo: is dark matter the same as dark antimatter? Is dark matter the same as antimatter? No, they're different far as the theories go. They actually can kind of prove antimatter by slamming things in and measuring the waves that come off when you blow up these particles with matter and antimatter. It produces a wave, so they have some sort of physical evidence that something's making those two things blow up. As far as dark matter, they don't have any evidence. They just have observations of how it interacts with stuff. So they are different.
Oh yeah, and antimatter annihilates matter. I've read antihydrogen annihilates hydrogen.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's huge amounts of energy released.
Yeah. And actually, I feel like that's why particle colliders are farming antimatter, so that they can use it to create very large chemical or energy releases to maybe power the world one day, or something to that matter. I don't know.
No, they're doing it. They're doing it to discover the thing, because when you destabilize the particles, you can get there's basically there's certain patterns that are stable, and the larger the pattern, the shorter the amount of time that it can remain stable. But if you throw enough energy together, then for very brief amounts of time, these particles can actually exist, and then they decay into other particles that then, and eventually you end up with something that's stable. All right, as the eventual byproducts. And when these particles, the directions that they take, when they pass by some detectors, they can detect the byproducts, and they have to mathematically back calculate where things might have been if this actually happened. But they need matter and antimatter is one of the ways, and smashing them two together is one of the ways that they can get the enough chaos for these particles to temporarily spin out from take two cars, smash them together, you're going to get bits flying off. Yeah. Right. It's basically it. And by detecting where the wheel ended up and where the mirror ended up, you can detect where. Yeah.
I mean, that's the scientific explanation of that, Luke. But a lot of us think there's a lot more going on, that they're trying to rip, into other universes and try to use this. There's way more going on than we're being told, I think. But that's.
Nah.
I'm with you on.
Fit.
I understand that they're measuring the quarks and the hose, the God particles and all that junk, and I get that, but I think they're also trying to do other things with that technology for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit.
They're spending way too much money just to answer that one question.
No, the amount of energies and things, and the accuracy that you have to have with these things, and the testing equipment, it is stupid amounts of money. They're actually having to make their own chips in some cases, all right,
Wow.
to design their own processors to put in this detector equipment. I mean, it's enormous, and the accuracy that they've got to get is just insane. And the amount of data that they're collecting, it's petabytes of data, all right, that takes. They then have to build a supercomputer, right, to process the damn stuff. All right, supercomputers cost vast amounts of money. No, it's really because I've watched this for a long, been watching stuff for a long time. There isn't room for them to fit the things. Apart from anything, it's all public knowledge. If you go on the mailing lists, CERN mailing lists and stuff, they're public.
Oh yeah,
you can't.
I have the collision.
Yeah, there's no room in that. There's thing they haven't got time. All right, the thing is, it's publicly funded, so no, it's not. The hypothesis does not fit the data.
Yeah, I've got about I think maybe 150 gigs of collision data, and I was running a virtual machine and looking at it. And all that stuff.
Yeah.
And now, Unirock, I do want to. I'm not trying to ignore the questions coming in here, because there's a talk here about dark goo, and that's not my field. I don't know much about it, but people say it's like a dark goo that people talk about. It's like a programmable black matter. That I don't know if that's just like a.
I've never heard of it.
You never heard of dark goo?
Nope.
Oh, okay. They're saying that they can get to the point where they can start programming matter.
Somebody's been watching Transformers.
There you go. My chair is squeaky. It is. Listen, every time I lean forward, I've been so lazy about oiling it. I totally need to do that. Sorry. Thanks for pointing that out.
WD-40, Doc.
Yeah, that's maybe another topic for another show, because I don't know much about it, but I've heard of it. So, and I wouldn't even mind having a show on maybe the black holes, like what we were talking about today, because there's so many different theories about what they could be, and
yeah,
I mean, it would be fun to toss around. Cool. And this is something I keep going back to, and I said in the beginning of the show, just because we think some super smart physicists know what's going on, remember, they're only a small fraction of people who study mathematics that kind of get an idea. That doesn't mean they're right. They don't, and in fact, every science gets thrown out every 50 years. You're going to look back and be like, that wasn't right. So go more with what your gut and what makes sense to you. A lot of stuff I get just like when I'm meditating or visions or whatever, it'll be just a question that pops in my head. Like today's topic, is it maybe this is just thought energy that's making dark energy. So, go with what feels right is what I keep going back to. There is some validity, and sure, the scientific studies are interesting, but I don't ever say one's 100% right. All right, you guys go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm good.
They're all talking. If you guys see anything on the chat you want to answer, otherwise, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Apologies. I was Pelgrim 71 was pointing out, saying he believes black holes are the beginning of a new universe. No, yes, I would agree with that. But I think that the event horizon protects that universe from outside interference.
Yeah, that's a sort of filter that's in place. So.
Yeah, hey, we're back to the filters again.
Back to the filters. Yeah, maybe it's very interesting, and I also think that since no one's really ever been to space very far, or whatever your belief is on that, I have a feeling space is very different than what we think it is. Very, very different. And I do believe that it is. Say we are in some sort of virtual video game down here or a simulation reality. I think that's kind of like you're looking into other realities when you're looking out there. I think that's what I think you can see other servers. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
If you choose to, and if you believe that it is possible.
Yeah, there you go. But again, I never get on here and say I'm right. I just say this is what I think and what's going on in my head. So you guys, if it sounds right to you, cool. If not, that's all right to you. I'm guessing.
Certainty is a pathological state of mind.
There you go. That's a great quote. It's such a great quote. All right. On that note, we are getting close to the end of the show, so I'm going to pass this back to you each, guys. Unirock and Luke, each of you guys get 2 to 3 minutes to say a closing thing about anything you want, and then I'm going to wrap the show up. All right. So let's start with Unirock. You want to say your last parting words on this? Go ahead.
Thanks for inviting me and hearing me, everybody. It's good talking to you. Come check out what I do. I make videos on crazy topics because I'm insane. So I hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah. If you guys don't know who Unirock is, I'd be surprised. But maybe you're surfing in here and you've never even seen my show. Unirock, you can find him. His main channel is Unirock and he is. You know what, Unirock? You're getting a good crowd at nights, man. I was in there and there was like 130, 140 people, and I was like,
I had like 300 some people last night, Doc. It was insane. Yeah.
Man, I wish I had the energy to broadcast at night. I'm just too tired. But the night crowd's so much bigger than the day. But your live show's kicking butt, so I'm real proud of you. I'm glad to hear that's finally you deserve it. It's time they.
I've been getting crazy. I've been getting crazy.
Yeah, it looks like there's good growth over there. And so please check out his channel. And also, if you're watching this on Twitch or some other platform, he's probably there as well.
Yep, right now, live on Twitch right now.
All right.
As we speak.
And Luke, if you want to give us your 2 cents and also tell us about any projects you want to plug that you're working on, feel free. This is the time.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm working on that particle physics theory, which I will definitely do crowdsourcing at some point. I'll find some people who can help with it. I also have been doing an ethical, eco-conscious computer that is on Crowd Suppliers, EOMA 68, EOMA 68. If you would be interested to help sponsor me to get that completed, I'm on LiberaPay rather than what's the other one? Patreon.
LiberaPay. Okay, I'd never seen that before. Is that a cryptocurrency based one? Or?
LiberaPay.
Okay.
Thing, and I'm as LKCL, so that's my initials, Luke Kenneth Casson Layton. So
and
I'll drop
tell
that
people
in
what this computer does in layman's terms. They don't know. Why is this different? What are you doing with it?
Okay. So basically, the computer is like a memory. Instead of a memory card, you have a computer card. So you can put it in a desktop or a tablet or a laptop housing, and you can upgrade without throwing away the base.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of buying a $500 laptop every 2 years, you buy a $500 base and a $50 card, and every 2 years you have to upgrade for $30. Get a faster computer and turn your thing into a faster computer. But also, what you can do is, if you're a family and you can't afford to buy everybody a laptop or a tablet, everybody in the family buys one $30 computer card, and they share the laptop base.
Yeah.
So it's no more any arguments about, oh no, Dad, I'm not going to damage your files because I can just pop the computer card out and give it to you, and I can put mine in, and everything that you have is safe.
If you guys want to see this more, me and Luke did an interview on this on my page, and it's called Best Off-Grid Computer, because one thing is these computers look like little cards, and they take almost no electricity. So they're if you're thinking about going off-grid, it's a brilliant way to do it. And also, Luke's trying to develop a way to close the government looking at your computer. They're trying to make a NSA-proof computer. That technology is also available for that, and for my crowd, they like to know about that. So I'll go.
If you want,
I didn't know you had
the latest stuff, Spectra, Meltdown. If you've seen it in the technical news, or if you haven't, you really should look it up. It's Intel have really screwed up, and AMD and ARM.
Yeah, I did a video on that. That's pretty crazy stuff.
You could have him on if you want. I'm sure Luke will come on your show if you want to talk about that. Unirock.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
A lot of people don't realize that Intel, when they build the chip, even though they're not supposed to, there's a back door that's in place that they can come in and use if they know how to do it. So the government can get into any Intel computer chip, which is like every chip out there practically. So you have to create a whole other computer system in order to avoid that. And that's what he's doing.
Yeah. Seems like it's been there, ever since the beginning of personal computers on purpose, so they could have there's somebody discovered this government backdoor is what it seems like.
Yeah. The next project I will be doing, or one that I'm starting in parallel, is to make a RISC-V processor that will be entirely open, right? And I will be partnering with the Indian. There's a project, the Shakti project. They have a goal, basically unlimited funding by the Indian government to, and I'm quote here, poop all over Intel and ARM. All right, because they can't have importing of a smartphone for everybody. A billion smartphones imported into the country would bankrupt the entire country. So they have to make them themselves, and it starts with having the processor. Oh, and incidentally, it's going to be completely open, so there'll be no NSA backdoors in it.
If I can be so bold, and I just had an insight, it's gotten to the point, Luke, where you can run a blockchain crypto. You can make your own cryptocurrency to fund this entire project. You should think about pulling in some crypto guys and funding this entire damn thing with some sort of coin. And keeping it open source.
A friend of mine is working on it. We might be launching in January. I don't have permission to tell more about it.
All right, well, keep me in the loop,
because it will be a lot more than just funding this project. It will be a foundation.
Yeah, keep me in the loop, because if you're developing a new cryptocurrency or something, I would like to be the first in. So let me know. Keep me in the loop. And one of these days, we need to do a show on cryptocurrencies, because I'd like to have you back for that. I know you had some experience in we both have our Bitcoin stories, but I'm moving on to other currencies. I'm not really messing with Bitcoin too much anymore. But
Yeah,
the
my
fees are so
Bitcoin
ridiculous.
story. I'm crying because I didn't buy a bunch of it.
Oh, well, and here's the thing though. Bitcoin's kind of like the
Yeah.
granddaddy,
I'm
and
serious.
you might have missed that boat, but it's eventually going to crush itself under its own weight and regulations.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
there's a lot of new currencies out that you can do quite well on. So you haven't missed the boat. You just have to figure out which currency to go to next. And eventually people will leave Bitcoin because I had a $45 fee on Bitcoin for spending just a little bit of it. It's crushing itself under its own fees.
Yeah.
And so what happened, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, these cryptocurrencies get started, and Bitcoin was kind of like the granddaddy that started everything. But now the way it's run is so archaic. There's 10 years of development of other coins that run much better than Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's going to eventually be, I think, in my opinion, it's going to kind of be the granddaddy that's too expensive to use and obsolete. I think at time.
You're supposed to move over to the SegWit, the Beck32 stuff, but because nobody has done so, there's only a few programs that have done it, and so Electrum is one of the only ones that really, I think there's a couple of others, but until everybody converts over to those and everybody's infrastructure is converted over to those, it's going to creak under its own weight until it keels over.
Yeah.
This was what the Bitcoin Cash fork was about. Somebody came up with a better idea.
Yeah.
How to find me online? Literally just search for my initials, LKCL. But also search for Ioma68.
Yeah.
Sorry, somebody's putting a thing.
We'll probably do some sort of crypto show coming up. I'd like to, and maybe if you guys are interested in talking crypto, I am not a crypto expert, and if you want to come in and
I'd love to.
And talk, I'd like to talk about maybe for my audience, many of them are interested but have no clue how it works or how to get started. So maybe a basic show of here's how we get started. Here's some of the new currencies that kind of look pretty interesting. Like I have been spending a lot of time over at Library. I've been trying to promote Library lately. And if you guys have signed up, you'll notice that I just did 8 stories of on Library this week. I'm trying to make a tutorial thing because they're giving away free cryptocurrency right now to early adopters. So I showed you how that works and how to sign up. It's a good way to sign up without spending anything. If you want to get into cryptocurrency, it could be your first one. And I think Library is going to be very disruptive technology coming up. I'm excited about them. But there's also a lot of cool cryptos out there doing neat things. I don't know if you've even had a chance to look at Library yet. You might want to. It just came out. I don't know if you met those guys at PorcFest or not. Did you, Luke? Did you see the Library dudes? I think they were at the same PorcFest you were at.
No. Not heard of it. Library thing.
Yeah.
That's a librarything.com. That's a book website.
No. LBRY. LBRY. Library.
Nope. Not heard of it.
What Library is, if you guys don't know, is it's a decentralized platform that actually runs on blockchain technology peer-to-peer. There's a lot of platforms trying to do it, but nobody's really, they run it through central nodes like Steam, it's sort of doing it, DTube's sort of doing it. Libraries actually, they want to be the premier place to put decentralized information in the future. They want to make giant repository for information. Kind of think of them as like Amazon and Netflix and YouTube in one place in the future that's decentralized. They are a giant repository of information, and they are getting the nuts and bolts worked out right now. They're still very beta, so they're looking for beta testers, and if you go in and beta test with them, they give you free currency to use. And that's what, if you go look at my stuff this week, you'll see some tutorials that show you how to do that. Even as a noob, if you don't know anything about how this stuff works, I walk you through it and hold your hand, and you know how I explain stuff. So anyway, take a look at Library if you want to get involved in cryptocurrency and not actually buy any. You can get some right now, but it's very beta. You'll go on there and be like, oh, this is it, but in a few months it's constantly improving. So in a year it's going to be very different than what it is right now.
I'm just looking at the API that they've got on as you're talking. It looks pretty sound.
Yeah, people are very excited about LBRY library. It's basically a bunch of libertarian dudes that wanted to make a platform where you can't get censored and you can actually have your information freely distributed.
Good.
So you might want to start poking your head in over there before you miss the boat on that one. They do have library currency, which I'm starting to get library credits right now. I'm trying to amass some before. I think it's a long-term game. They're not going to be ready for mass adoption probably for another year or two, but they're going to be in place when I think some other technologies, when people are looking around and be like, where do we go? It's going to be ready to go. So if you're looking to make a quick buck, it's probably not where you want to go. But I like the actual idea of what they're trying to do. So I try to promote library. Is Unirock still on, or did you split, buddy?
I'm here.
Yeah. So Uni, it's a good way for you if you want to go over there and start putting content.
I've been thinking about it.
I mean, it's a quick like $25. You go over there and you earn like $25 of crypto. But it's if you want to wait, it still will be fine. But in time, it'll get better and better. Yeah, I think you can get crypto for a while.
Yeah.
Somebody says they're pondering the idea of even stopping using the internet. Can't find anything that's tainted, just for a thing. Yes, do it. Shut your phone, burn the phone. Don't burn your bra, burn the phone.
And
your laptop, burn the internet connectivity. Do it.
I'll tell you what. There are people that go on electronic vacation where they cut it off for a few months and go back to what it was like in 1970, and it's very relaxing. I remember when I actually left my cell phone I just didn't bring it on vacation. It was like one of the best things I ever did. But it feels very weird. It's like coming off an addiction. You're like looking for your phone, and you're like, oh, it's not there. It's amazing to me that people are so scared to be without technology. They're like, well, I can't leave my phone behind. What if somebody needs me or calls me? And it's like, well, what the hell do you think happened before 1990? Society existed before cell phones.
I can't live without my computer. I have withdrawals.
Well, we earn our living at it, so it would be hard because basically we would have to not earn a living for a month if we decide to do that.
Yep.
Sharon, I got a good one for you. All right, to try an experiment.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Okay. Switch off the electricity in your house at the mains.
Oh, well.
And see if you sleep better.
Oh, that's a really interesting thing. I used to have a cabin out in the woods, and to save power, we would shut it completely down. Just hit the breaker. And then whenever I wanted to have like a hot shower, I would kick it on a half hour before, and it would heat it up. Like I didn't leave it running all the time, and it was interesting. And I definitely believe that all that electricity screws with your hormones and your rhythm for sure. But what's interesting is, I live in New Hampshire where the power goes out anyway. So unfortunately, it's not what I decide. But so that's some good practice once in a while to shock you back into what life without power is.
I have a friend who lives he sleeps in a Faraday cage.
Wow. I mean, there's probably something to it. I wouldn't, if I could afford to do it, I sure as hell would try it. I sleep on a grounding sheet. I have a grounding sheet that protects you from electricity. So
if you get several more of those surrounded, so put one above you and 4 around you. You're in a box. You're in a Faraday cage.
Oh,
try it, man.
The grounding sheets. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
There's no way.
That's not a bad idea at all. As far as if you guys have anything, I see Denny here is like, hey, in the Philippines we have rolling brownouts. Yeah, anywhere besides like the U.S. you guys deal without electric probably a lot, like any sort of third world. Oh, how's Taiwan living over there? I should have had you on for my X page. I had a show that was just nothing but expats of people pissed off and moving out of the country, and now you live in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. I would like your opinion on that.
That is really funny. It's really funny. We're in a 14-story high rise, okay, right at the top, and there was a typhoon about 6 months ago, and the buildings an earthquake, and the building's swaying from side to side. And the electricity's on, the internet connection, absolutely no problems.
Wow, the internet. I guess those Chinese really like their internet. Protect that internet. We might not have a building, but
it's an earthquake country. I can hear stuff pinwheeling down the street. We're absolutely fine. The electricity and the water thing. Oh, the one thing they do they do not run gas mains here.
Wow.
Everybody gets delivered cylinder bottles, propane gas cylinder bottles on the back of motorcycles and scooters.
Because of the earthquakes, they're worried that the gas is going to blow open.
Yeah.
What about water?
The infrastructure is not good enough. The infrastructure is not good enough. It's concrete high rises, most of things in the outlying districts. It's just not safe to things, and get the cables strung on the outside of people's buildings. The internet things. It's like in India, in part.
Well, what about what's it like to live in Taiwan? As far as it used to be, kind of a deal. You could go over there and live pretty cheap, but I don't know if that's true anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Not in Taipei City, but here I'm paying $400 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment. Oh, sorry, I'm not paying. Okay, because it's a guest.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a visitor to this country. Yes.
So you have to be careful how you say it. You're a guest of the country to stay there for $400 a month.
I'm a 90-day visa. Yeah, so I'm a guest of a friend who happens to yes.
That you just happen to buy $400 of food for. I got you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's it. Oh, all right. Thanks so much for coming on, and I really appreciate it. So hopefully you guys can find Luke if you want to help him with this project. We'll have to have him on again to give us an update and talk about next time you have some sort of new update. Come on and talk about anything you want.
Yeah, cool.
And Unirock, are you streaming today? Oh, did he drop out?
He's gone from Skype.
I guess he dropped out. All right. So, well, hopefully Unirock, he'll probably be on the night. He's kind of a night streamer now, but sometimes he's in the day. Anyway, let me wrap this show up, and I want to let you guys know that I am on all these other platforms. Like before, I was talking about Speech and Library and DTube and Steemit, and I'm over at Minds and BitChute, and I'm everywhere. But you can also see, go to my website and sign up. I have stories there that have been demonetized by YouTube. If you want to go and see the forbidden stories, you just give me your email and you can look at those stories. That being said, I do really appreciate you guys giving me a chance and supporting me on these other networks. And I've been, like I said, I have even had people over at Library throw me a lot of crypto lately for stories. So it really helps keeps the lights on. I appreciate it a lot. The last thing I want to say is that if you are hanging out and you want to go join us over in the Afterglow chat, Miss Waffles will drop the link a few more times in there, and you guys are welcome to keep talking there. Just because the show ends doesn't mean you guys got to keep yakking. And go over there and yak away. I've got some video to process, so I won't be there right away, but I usually pop in later on. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys so much. And let me drop this here. If you are watching the rerun of this, and you will see these stories appearing on YouTube, you can click those and keep watching other interviews if you had some interest. Also, remember, I'm trying to get off the YouTube roller coaster of payment, and so I'm encouraging people to go over to the Patreon page and subscribe to become a Patreon. Take a look at that, and you can become a Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and I will start having much better rewards soon. I know I've kind of basic stuff, but I'm working on it. But anyway, it's just a good way to support the shows to help get me off there. So I appreciate it. Miss Waffles is dropping the link right now in the chat, so you can cruise on over to the Discord. So thank you for joining me today. We'll have to have these intellectual talks much more often. And again, if you're watching the rerun on YouTube, you'll see things appearing right now. Go ahead and click those and keep watching. I love you guys. Support each other. Be nice to that cat. Bye.